Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. So just a little bit about myself. I am with the University of Hawai, Manoa CTAHR, and I'm located on the east side of the Big Island at the Komohana Research and Extension Center in Hilo. And I'm a county extension educator, agent with 100% responsibility for the 4-H youth development program on the east side of the island. And I also handle 4-H livestock programs island-wide. And I also serve as the state coordinator for the 4-H Junior Master Gardener program. And so part of my responsibilities has been serving as the state coordinator for the 4-H Junior Master Gardener program here in Hawaii since 2007. And I've been involved with the JMG program on a lot of different levels for about 18 years now, from running JMG programs in the schools to piloting new curriculum for national JMG. And now I oversee the program at the state level. And so let's see if I can get there we go. And so what I thought I would do today, where this is a gardening group, I thought I would, give those of you that aren't already familiar with the 4-H Junior Master Gardener program, I thought I would share a little bit about the background of the program and introduce some of the curriculum and then kind of wrap up touching on a JMG sponsored program that some of you have heard about, and that's our annual 4-H giant fruit and vegetable contest. And so, so again, what is JMG? So for those of you that aren't familiar with our program, JMG program is the International Youth Gardening Program with the University Cooperative Extension Network. And it engages kids in innovative, hands-on and individual learning experiences, and not only cultivates their mind, but provides a love of gardening and helps them to develop an appreciation for the environment. And most of the JMG groups, they take place in schools around the country and are taught by teachers as part of their classroom instruction. But there's also a lot of JMG groups that learn in informal settings like after school programs, 4-H, scouts, and summer camps. And so JMG's been around for a little over 20 years now. And in that time, they've developed a number of gardening curricula, starting with this one here that you see. And this is the teacher leader guide. And it offers over 100 gardening activities covering plants and development, soils and water, environmental horticulture, insects and diseases, landscape horticulture, fruits and nuts, vegetables and herbs. And then lastly, it does even have a section on career exploration. And then JMG also offers a health and nutrition from the garden curriculum. And just like it sounds, deals with food, nutrition, and healthy eating. And then Operation Thistle, Seeds of Despair, and Operation Water, Dr. Thistle Goes Underground. These two books were developed with middle school age kids in mind and deals with plant development and water quality. JMG also developed a wildlife gardener curriculum in collaboration with the National Wildlife Federation. And this curriculum was designed to allow youth to gain a greater understanding and appreciation for wildlife in their local community, and even helps kids to build wildlife gardening habitats where they live. And then we have the literature in the garden, which cultivates the connection to children's literature gardening through garden and ecology themed children's books, which inspire learning through outdoor activities, creative expression, and open exploration. And then a few years ago, we developed the Learn, Grow, Eat, and Go curriculum. And this one's been very popular with Hawaii schools, and it incorporates the best practices identified by research and combines the interdisciplinary elements of nutrition, garden science, physical activity, food preparation, and fresh vegetable eating to improve the health and wellness of not only the kids, but families and then the school community. And then lastly, the newest of our Junior Master Gardener curriculum, which was just released in print just this last month, is the Early Childhood Learn, Grow, Eat, and Go. It basically takes those same concepts as the Learn, Grow, Eat, and Go curriculum, but it's adapted for age 4 to 6. And what I like best about the JMG program is that it's meant to be flexible. So although they might be designed for use with a certain age level, know that the concepts involved in each of the curriculum that can be adapted for use of any age, and the concepts within the curriculum can also be used anywhere, because when it comes right down to it, plant development is plant development. And I've also had teachers and groups use part of the curriculum to supplement and enhance the things that they're already doing with the kids in their programs or in their schools. And so you want to also kind of keep that in mind and know that you can be creative in your own way. And there is that flexibility to take these concepts and apply them to what best suits your situation. And then there's also opportunities for youth to earn certification within the 4-H Junior Master Gardener program. And we've had the last couple of years, we've also received some grant funds to support schools and other groups who wish to participate in some of our JMG programs. So right now, Big Island, Oahu, and Kaua'i are using the JMG curriculum, but what you would need to do is contact your county extension office in your area and see how best that they can help you out if you're interested in participating in some 4-H Junior Master Gardener programs. And then what I'd like to do next is I want to kind of shift the remainder of my time here. I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about our 4-H garden program that I developed with some help from people like Donna Mitz, which most of you know. And that's our Hawaii County 4-H Giant Fruit and Vegetable Contest. And we started growing giants back in 2012 in collaboration with a Waimea farmer that had held an annual giant pumpkin contest at the farmer's market up there. And the whole idea and the whole reason that I started this program with 4-H and having kids growing giants was just that I thought that it would be a unique and fun way to get kids excited about agriculture, have them appreciate the love of the outdoors, and would teach them to, be self-sustainable, of course, because this is something important on an island. And but little did they know, or that they realize, is that besides just having fun growing these giant, vegetables and fruits, they're secretly getting, we're secretly getting them to learn science and some good life skills, such as problem solving, learning about responsibility, teamwork, record keeping, and of course, getting outside and being active. And in the beginning, when we were just growing giant pumpkins, there were a few in the area that weren't real pleased with the idea of teaching kids, to grow these giant pumpkins, because after all, giant pumpkins aren't typically grown in Hawaii. But I think after a little bit, I think I got them to understand that it wasn't about the pumpkins. And as I tell everybody, if you can teach a kid how to grow a pumpkin, they can grow anything. And so, we kind of started off growing Atlantic giant pumpkins, but over the years, we've added a lot of other giants to include things like giant tomatoes, giant watermelons, giant bushel gourds, long gourds, giant sunflower heads. And then this year, we also added giant peppers, like bell peppers, and then giant cabbage and butternut squash and giant cantaloupe. And so in 2017, we decided to move our contest from Waimea to Hilo to the JC Hawaii County Fair, which was great as it gave us, more exposure for our program and our contest. And we've been there up until just not too long ago when the COVID kind of hit us. And then last year when COVID did hit and we had the lockdown, there was a lot of families and schools that were looking for projects that kids could do from the safety of their home. And that was probably our best year ever because we had a 274% increase in our entries, and that's no exaggeration. And besides just the contest, we've held workshops, we've done educational tours, we did, in-person tours pre-COVID, and then of course we ended up going virtually in 2020 and then this past year. Or this year, 2021. And then a couple years ago, we developed a Facebook group page for the contestants so that they could share what they were doing, ask questions and that kind of thing. And during this time of year, it gets a lot of traffic. Unfortunately, though, it is a closed group. So unless you're part of the, growing, in the contest, we can't really let you in. But outside of that, we've also expanded to Oahu and Molokai this year, and they still have a lot to learn, but I think that in the end, they're going to have a really good program. And so we're pretty excited about that. And I did go over about a minute. And so here's some contact information. You can get more information about the JMG program at jmgkids.us, or you can contact me directly, and there's my information, and I'll put it again in the chat box if they didn't already do that. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Wow, Becky, so great.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. We have time for questions, so.
Oh, do you? Okay, I didn't want to run over, so.
No, you're good.
Well, if anybody has questions, I'm open to answering any questions that you guys have.
I had a bunch of questions, but I was hoping someone else would jump in.
Oh, I was going to say no questions. That means I did my job.
Yeah, you did great.
An excellent job, Becky. That was like such a great recap and a history lesson, and
Thank you.
those
Guys.
pumpkins, woohoo! And I can't wait to connect some more.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is a question in the chat. Do you know if the Junior Master Gardener curriculum indicates the NGSS standards by any chance? Is it aligned to the standards?
To school standards?
Yeah.
So nationally, the teacher leader guide originally was set to Texas standards, but then over the years, other states started to take the curriculum and match it up with what the school standards need to be within their state. So it has been done. It has not been done for Hawaii, which I would love to eventually have something like that be done. I know that even with is Ming Wei on, or she's not on? I just had a meeting with her and Tiana here just a couple days ago, and I was showing them in the early childhood one, they've actually even gone that far and have shown how it works well with standards for, I guess, younger age and taking different components. And so I don't have it in front of me. Otherwise, I'd kind of read off some of the things that they're looking at. But yeah, if there was some way with the other curriculum to work with a few teachers to see how it can in line, that would be great, because JMG fits with all the different studies. So like math and social studies and, English literature, all those kinds of things, we can make it fit. So, yeah.
Great. And then I think there was one more question in the chat, and that was asking if private schools could join the giant vegetable contest.
Oh,
yeah, for sure. It's open. It's really actually open to anybody, and I'm talking from the perspective of Hawaii Island. And we originally just meant it to be for the kids, but over time, we had a lot of adults wanting to get in, to play with us, and it was kind of like, well, yeah, I can let the big kids play too. So we do here on the Big Island, we do have all ages. As far as for Oahu, their program this year that they did, they pretty much left it for just the youth. Where they go from there, you would have to touch base with Christine Hanakawa to find out how she intends to keep moving it forward. And then again, as far as on Molokai, I believe they're doing it in a family situation. And so, so a little bit different, but yeah, so if you're here on the Big Island, yeah, definitely get in touch with me, and we'll get you set up for next year. We're kind of coming to the close on our program for this year. So we'll be finished by the end of next month, and we've had a lot of entries already in, so.
Yeah, so just to follow up that, Becky, so how do new folks join for the next season? When does it start again? Did you already mention?
So what I'll do is I typically try to hit the papers, and any way that I can let people know, Facebook and that kind of thing, to let people know that it's actually happening. And we usually start around my plants. I get my plants started because I start all the plants for everybody. And so I get started in April, and then probably about the middle of, probably closer to the end of May, first part of June, we start getting some of the plants out to people. We try to time the plantings to fall within our October contest, in this case for this year. Once the JC Fair starts back up, that's kind of the mid to end of September. So we'll back up our planting season a little bit to make it all fall into place a little bit closer. So yeah.
Exciting. Thank you. We'll be looking forward to that in April. Excellent. Oh, question. Lacey, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a minute for more?
Yes.
I loved everything you had to say, Becky. I was wondering about the JMG certifications, and if that was, I missed what you said about that, if that's like a certification for teachers to get or for the students to get.
It's a certification that the kids end up receiving. And so they have an actual junior master gardener certification, which is basically about a 16-week program, and actually could end up being a lot longer depending on how you do the program. But it pretty much runs parallel to what a master gardener would actually have to go through. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they have to learn, and but of course it's geared more down to their age level. And we've only had one kid so far that I know of that actually, she was a homeschool student, and she did it along with the master gardeners, and where she actually earned an actual junior master gardener certification. But they have shorter versions that just hit on one topic. And then Learn, Grow, Eat and Go has a certification. And so yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that kids can get certificates for completing the different programs. And if you want, get my email address, I'll type it in the chat box, and we can chat about that a little bit more.
Okay, what ages or what grade levels was that for?
Basically 3rd to 5th grade, but you can adapt the programs to fit any age level.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becky. We're going to
Sure.
shift to Marielle, which is kind of fun because we're going to go from Keiki to Kupuna. So we've got some intergenerational topics. Yes, Marielle?
Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome. So I also work with the Junior Master Gardener program. If you're in West Hawaii, just give me a shout. I love working with that program. It's awesome, especially if you ever meet new school garden teachers who just need some ideas of activities to do with their kids. It's a great way to just get started. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about a program that I've worked on. My name is Marielle Hampton, and I am a CTAHR Extension Agent for intergenerational programs and youth development on the Big Island. So I work with youth, families, older adults, and stakeholders across the lifespan to improve quality of life for residents in Hawaii County. So I work with 4-H in West Hawaii. I collaborate to develop and carry out programs, and then I also support my colleagues in 4-H, food systems, and intergenerational and aging programs. So with the pandemic, as you can imagine, it's really challenging to find opportunities to bring youth and older adults together, since older adults are higher risk, and now youth under age 12 aren't able to get vaccinated. So as a way of connecting these different groups safely, I worked with the nonprofit Kumuki'a and Māla'ai, the culinary garden at Waimea Middle School, on a new container gardening program called Keiki to Kupuna. So through this program, students grew plants that were delivered to Kupuna on the Big Island. And along with the potted plants, Kupuna also received a kit that had instructions, fertilizer, pest spray, and a handwritten letter with a self-addressed envelope to encourage Kupuna to respond. So before I talk more about the program, I just wanted to give a really brief introduction to intergenerational programs in case that's a new concept for you. So I work to bring people together from different generations for planned activities that promote learning, connection, and engagement. So in the US, we have an aging population as well as a growing number of youth. So there's an increasing need for these type of programs. And in Hawaii, we have many multi-generational families, such as grandparents that help raise their grandchildren. And intergenerational programs can help to strengthen the bonds between different age groups with positive outcomes for everybody who participates. So some of the benefits for adults, they can feel less isolated, connection to others, as well as learning new skills, such as different technologies. It can also give them a sense of purpose and making a difference for the future and help them feel appreciated and valued. And then for youth, on the flip side, there's a lot of the same benefits. They can learn new skills and build confidence. They enjoy that attention and that companionship, and there's bonding, as well as some empathy building for older adults, allowing them to avoid misconceptions or stereotypes about older people. And then if you do have kids who don't necessarily have much exposure to older adults, that's great for them to get those relationships too. So our Keiki to Kupuna program, I just wanted to share with you guys because I think it's a really great way to give a mission to the students in your garden and also create some tangible benefits in the community by delivering these garden kits to Kupuna during the pandemic. The concept's really simple, but there are just a few steps that I'm just going to explain in case you want to host a similar program in your garden. So first step is Kupuna recruitment. We had a bunch of different methods. We talked to Meals on Wheels. We talked through churches, homestead associations, a lot of different ways to recruit Kupuna to participate in these programs. And then there was an after-school program at the Māla'ai garden. So we started out working with those kids. We did a propagation lesson. So they got to learn about, vegetative propagation versus seeds and what are the benefits and challenges of those different things. And then they had a chance to propagate a bunch of different plants, both from the garden and some that I had brought to get started with a bunch of different plants that they would then grow out. We did a little bit of a writing lesson when they got to prepare their handwritten letter to send to the Kupuna and then fill out a self-addressed envelope so that the Kupuna could respond. The one thing to keep in mind is there are some supplies that are necessary. Mainly it's pots and potting soil. Probably in your garden, you have all the plants you would need to do propagation. You might already have some seeds, even seeds you could collect in your garden. But the pots and potting soil were pretty important. There was the element of distribution planning to figure out the logistics of how we were going to get all of the plants and kits to the Kupuna. And so that's why it's great to have a partner like myself with CTAHR. Or a local nonprofit that's willing to help with that part. Then we did the actual gardening kit deliveries, which involved just, addresses, checking in with people to let you know you're coming. And then we followed up with all of the participating Kupuna by doing check-ins via email in case some of their plants died or they needed advice, which I think they really appreciated and helped to build that connection. So as I mentioned, here are some of the options for if you wanted to recruit Kupuna to participate. You just want to make sure you're realistic about the number of Kupuna that you can serve. We gave about 3 or 4 plants to each person. And so we ended up working with the same number of Kupuna as we had students in the after school program to keep it really manageable for everybody. So for this pilot program, we had 6 children and 6 adults, which was, I think, a really good number. In the kits, like I said, we had 3 or 4 plants, a container gardening guide, which had sort of the basics of growing in containers, plant by plant guide, as well as contact for master gardeners so they can reach out if they have problems. and also handouts on pest management and home remedies, which came from the Master Gardeners. Then the kids also put together spray bottles with neem oil in case they had pests. And we filled up some little Ziplocs of fertilizer with an instructions label for the Kupuna to use in case their plants needed to be fed. And then, of course, have to include that letter in that self-addressed envelope. So the outcomes, I think, were awesome. The Kupuna loved the plants. They liked being able to use them in the food that they cooked. I think some of them maybe learned new recipes in order to use like some of the herbs that they had. They loved the letters, and one of the kids I think is still corresponding with their Kupuna, which is really great. We had a great match made there. The Keiki loved being able to be outdoors during the pandemic. And so their comment on our evaluation was they just wanted to do more of it. They loved being outside. They loved having these opportunities to socialize. And then because they work on that letter, they had a chance to do a little bit of reading and writing as well. So that was sort of our pilot program. We learned a lot. One of the things we learned about was which plants did better than others to give in this setting. I think perennial herbs were definitely the best thing to do. If you can see here, there's a bolting bok choy that I think never really got harvested, so that wasn't the best. If it's possible to have more after school connections, that was great. And then we're always looking for ways that we can maybe increase these connections. It's, like I said, very difficult to do it virtually, but if you have some tech savvy Kupuna, they might be willing to jump on a Zoom call periodically, something like that. And the other thing that I would want to change is that we weren't really able to get many evaluations back from the Kupuna that participated. So we're thinking about how to incentivize that process if you are looking to get some feedback. So this next year, in order to kind of take this to the next level, we have another distribution planned for 13 Kupuna in Pauilo. We're going to keep doing the after school program. And our goal is for the numbers to get low enough that we can do an in-person workshop and work day to actually bring together the kids and the Kupuna in person. So they actually get to meet each other and do a little work side by side in the garden. So that's it. Please feel free to contact me if you are interested in intergenerational programs. I have a colleague on Kaua'i who also does some intergenerational work, and then also a colleague on Maui who does aging and intergenerational programs there. So there are folks around the state who could potentially help you if you wanted to do a similar program. All right, any questions?
Marielle, who's your Maui contact?
That's Heather Greenwood. I'm not sure if you've come across her yet.
No.
But yeah, she does really awesome work. We actually have a virtual gardening and cooking program planned for the next year, which is going to have some awesome families working together to learn about how to grow food and then cook those plants themselves, which will be really cool.
But you're
So
saying
keep an eye out.
You're saying that Heather is running that?
She is. She's in charge of the project, and then they're having, I think, it's going to happen on Molokai, and then also on Kauai and the Big Island. We'll be running cohorts for that program.
I'm guessing Heather's contact is greenwood@hawaii.edu.
It's heather8@hawaii.edu.
Thank you.
Great, building more connections. I love that. Maybe just in interest of time, we might just want to save questions for the end. If you guys have any for Marielle, then you can drop them in the chat. Yeah, and we could move on to James. Thank you so much, Marielle. So inspirational. So many good ideas come from
that. All right. Hey, everyone. I'm just going to share this. So I'll be talking a little bit to y'all today about the Master Gardener program. And this is something that is active statewide. I'll give some contact details at the end. But this is mostly a program geared towards adults, different age ranges. We tend to skew more towards retirement age just because of kind of the folks who are able to volunteer. But we do a lot of outreach across age ranges. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. However, I was asked to try to make this interactive. And so I wanted to start out by doing one of those Menti polls and seeing what sort of terms you all think of when you hear the word master gardener. So I was going to ask if everyone can go to menti.com, use the code, and I'll bring this over. I think you can still see it. Share all that. Yeah, just trying to think of different terms, because this is something that I think we hear the term master gardener tossed around here and there, brought up by different people. But when you all kind of hear, yeah, okay, excellent, someone filled it in, it'll just kind of keep generating word clouds based on what different people put in. But gardens, knowledge, experts, helpful, food, those are all different things that master gardeners are involved in. Green thumb, excellent. Yeah, and so I'll talk about this a little bit as kind of more folks put in more stuff, but the Master Gardener program is active across the country. It's been in existence since late 70s, early 80s, and then has been in the islands since the early 90s, and active, I believe, on this island for about 20 years. I'm over on Kaua'i. All of these different things are things that we at least strive to be as master gardeners, but it's a formal training course. It's typically between 13 to 16 weeks. People go through, they pay a fee to cover costs, and in the past for speaker travel, but we then have them learn about different topics related to gardening. We focus on the essentials like soils, plant nutrition, weed control, diseases, pests, and then get into some more complex stuff like propagation. The idea is that when you finish this training course, you have kind of a really good foundation in gardening that's evidence and science-based. We try to bring in speakers through CTAHR, through the university, who have kind of different expertise that can speak to it. Then when you finish the course, we ask that you keep volunteering, and the expectation is about 40 hours a year of volunteer work and then 10 hours a year of continuing education to keep yourself current. And if you do that for 5 years, then you're a certified master gardener forever. I love some of these answers: wisdom, friendly, we try to be local. Yeah, and we get a lot of folks who join because they gardened on the mainland but don't necessarily know what it is to garden on Hawaii. And so they want to kind of learn about that. Yeah, excellent. All right, I'm gonna go back to the slides for a little bit now. But yeah, just to kind of give you an idea of what the Master Gardener program is. So typically our volunteers, like I mentioned, are adults, but we're trying to kind of get that, the idea is if we're receiving this knowledge, we want to be conveying that out to the community. And so in terms of what's relevant to you all, we do, at least in pre-COVID times, did a lot of classroom lessons and demonstrations. We would come and give talks as invited. Here on Kauai, we had a really active program with about 7 or 8 schools on the island. Sometimes it was helping set up a school garden. Sometimes it was kind of hands-on demos like this. This is on the left here is at LA Middle School, showing about composting a little bit and what kind of goes into it. Over here on the right is over on Niihau and helping them put plants into their school garden there. And then also kind of coupling that with a classroom portion. But now we're still kind of looking into this. As I mentioned, our volunteers skew a little older, and as Marielle mentioned, there's some safety concerns with that. So we've been trying to kind of figure out other attempts, other ways that we can kind of engage with the younger community. We have had a lot of teachers reach out to us directly, and so we're still kind of working on pulling together curricula. And one thing that we are trying to look at now is kind of topical projects. These are things that, for one thing, will have master gardeners that are really passionate about a particular thing, but also things that maybe are kind of a focus of research at the university, or things that have been brought to us by the community. Like seed saving is one. Over here on the right, I have photos of set up for seed saving with tomatoes, where we're fermenting the pulp, and then we'll be pouring that off and then saving the seeds from that. And that's a great activity for kids, you know, that they can either take a tomato that they have at home or buy one at the supermarket or farmer's market, and then save the seeds and grow a plant from that, and kind of walking them step by step through that. Marielle and Becky are also involved in a statewide project we're setting up on seed saving, where we're hoping to do some outreach, and I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. But other topics have included things like composting. Again, here's a Master Gardener volunteer and then a former Master Gardener coordinator, Josh Silva, doing a hands-on demonstration of composting. This is something that tends to be something that Master Gardeners gravitate towards, but it's also something kids tend to love. You know, you get your hands in the dirt, you get out of the classroom, sometimes you get worms, which kids, like we've had a lot of kids get really excited about, and, you know, kind of talking about what things go well in compost, what things, you know, can the worms eat, what can they not eat. Also as a way of like talking about food waste, talking about sustainability within, you know, households and classrooms. And then even talking about, for urban folks, things like bokashi composting, where you can do it in a high-rise apartment, and trying to set that up. So we try to respond, and, you know, each Master Gardener program is a little bit different. So it's kind of, I can't speak exactly for everyone across the state, but we do try to tailor it. I wanted to also put this in here, and unfortunately, we have an expert in this program, the ÄINA in Schools program, but she wasn't able to join us today. She's one of our Master Gardener volunteers. This is a whole curriculum that's been developed on school gardens that's really locally based. It is a giant folder. It's, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches thick. There's also a digital version. I was looking for the thumb drive right before this. Unfortunately, I can't find it. But just to say that there are, you know, curricula that Master Gardener can come in if you're looking for kind of a more formal program that way. One thing we've been working on institutionally is getting background checks done on all our volunteers. This is UH policy for one thing, but then also for schools, you know, there might be an additional kind of requirement for that. But if we have at least the first one done, trying to make it a little bit easier. And then, you know, as we can kind of chat before a lesson about having teachers present, aides present, so that there's someone to kind of help, you know, with kind of the student management, but then also, you know, we can have the Master Gardeners or the faculty shine. And we've done all sorts of different sorts of events like this. Actually, I did one just 2 weeks ago with another extension agent here, where originally the Master Gardeners had planned to do it, and then unfortunately they fell sick, and so we weren't able to do it. But we went to a school that was trying to bioremediate some land that had been donated to them, and they wanted to do soil tests. So we did a big presentation on what is soil health, but then gave everyone a shovel and said, you know, bring back half a bucket of dirt, and then like mix it up together and then send it in for a test. And what are we analyzing? What are some good indicators that we can see? You know, what are visible things that we see with soils? Another thing that we participate in a lot is kind of public events. And I bring this up because on the left here is a photo from what we call Ag Awareness Day. This is typically pre-COVID, something we would do every April, where we invite, I don't know if it's all, but a lot of different 7th grade classes across the island here to our research station, and have students do different hands-on activities, and they kind of rotate through. It's led by the current class of Master Gardeners, so it's a chance for them to really start applying some of what they've been learning, but then it's also supervised by existing Master Gardener volunteers. So there's a little bit of like, you know, for one thing, extra adults just in case, but lots of different projects. I believe this one was rosemary propagation, taking sprigs of it and sticking in potting soil. But we had a livestock agent who did a hands-on with goats. We had other things with soil testing, other kinds of events like that. And then resource-wise, I wanted to talk about Master Gardeners. It varies a little program to program statewide, but over here on the right, this is one iteration of kind of our public plant doctor or plant question sort of answering session. Some places they do it as a phone line where you can call during certain hours and get a Master Gardener volunteer who will answer gardening questions. This could be a great way to kind of set up, have a presentation from Master Gardeners to a classroom, and then have them all come back with, what sort of challenges are you having in the garden? Are your parents having, your tutu having, and then have a call in. Other places do an in-person one where they have the help desk and they have resource folders, they have a microscope, they can look at everything and kind of get an idea of what's going on. Here on Kaua'i, we don't do either of those. We actually have a booth at one of the larger farmers markets on the island. And so this is active while folks are kind of doing their shopping on Saturday mornings. They can bring plants. We have a mini microscope there. We have all sorts of ID books. And we have, it varies, but somewhere between 50 and 150 people come by every Saturday and ask us questions. We also sell the UH seeds. So these are seeds that are locally adapted, different vegetables mostly. We're trying to branch out into herbs, but we don't have a seed selling license for non-UH seeds. So we're kind of working on the legal logistics of that. But it's a good thing because, that way it's also seeds where there's a better chance of growing, better chance of having adaptation to the local soil. And you can order these from the seed lab directly, but if the Master Gardener program is nearby, it's sometimes an easier way to kind of get them. Also, I know Becky and Marielle mentioned kind of growing up plants. Typically, Master Gardeners will do plant sales, but also typically are more than happy to donate plants to different programs. We have a lot of green thumbs, and I know that recently we had an event where someone was trying to set up a medicine wheel garden at a horse rehab center where they help folks who are experiencing trauma heal through horses. And the way they kind of did that was bringing in different plants that were horse safe and planting them. And we ended up getting, I think, something like 200 plants donated for free. So there's a lot of kind of community resources to draw on. With that, I thought I'd give you some of the contact info, and I can send these slides out so you don't have to save them all right now, but tell you where the different programs are across the state. We have one on Kaua'i. I'm the coordinator there. The one on Oahu is at the Pearl City Urban Garden Center, and that's Kalani. Maui currently doesn't have an official coordinator, but they have a very active Master Gardener program, and they're out of the Kahului Extension office. And then on East Hawaii, it's over near where Becky is in Hilo at the Komohana Research and Extension Center. Then on West Hawaii, which I think falls under Marielle's purview, it's based out of the Kona Extension office. So this is the contact info. Like I said, each program has kind of different things they do. So I can't speak exactly to all of them, but I try to speak of kind of some general themes here. And then we don't necessarily have to do it this way, but in the spirit of kind of interactivity, one thing that I've started doing for asking questions during a presentation is using a Jamboard instead, because it's a way to anonymously ask questions, which I don't think is going to be a challenge with this group, but I know in the past sometimes, especially if I'm presenting to students, folks get a little shy, and so if they can do a Jamboard instead, then it's a way that they can kind of share questions. So feel free, if you want to ask questions here, or otherwise feel free to unmute, put it in the chat. And I do have one more slide that I'll go back to after this, but I wanted to kind of open the questions first. And that's my email address. That's an example of a question.
Fantastic, James. Again, I have so many ideas after listening to you and Marielle and Becky. Like, it's perfect. It's just exactly what we're hoping for. Just get a bunch of ideas and connections started. Thank you so much for these resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should say also, one thing that we're really fortunate about with Master Gardeners is because it's all volunteer based and, as I mentioned, skewing retired, we get a lot of folks who have incredible levels of expertise in things. We have quite a few teachers. We have one Master Gardener who used to run a molecular biology lab, and so can sit there and work a microscope and do all of these really high-tech sort of things. We had someone who worked for the CIA and so has computer experience and was helping us set up systems with that. So, sometimes unconventional connections as well that can be fun, and people who are happy to kind of share some of that information.
Beautiful. We all come together around gardening, right? Even though we have all these different walks of life, everybody needs to eat. Everybody needs to have food available, and fresh food's the best. So we all come together around gardens. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Lacey had a quick question, James. I don't know if you saw it in the chat, but is that hotline statewide, or are they for each island too? Her question is regarding the times of the hotline.
They're for each island, and I would reach out because I knew what they were pre-COVID, but I know a lot of them shifted things with COVID. And we've had to shift things quite a bit here too. We closed down our farmers market booth for a while for safety reasons. Since I'm not seeing any questions on the Jamboard, I'm going to jump back to my last slide. This is one I know you all probably are quite used to as well, asking for quick surveys. The one on the left is seriously less than 30 seconds. It's just a quick demographic survey that we're required to ask for our federal funding. And then the one on the right is more topical, but is definitely a longer kind of survey. This is one related to the project that Marielle and Becky and I are working on with seed saving. One of the groups that we're hoping to reach out to is educators and find out, what sort of projects would you be interested in? What sort of experiences do you have with gardening and seed saving?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're hoping, if you have an interest in seed saving, even whether you have any experience or not, please fill out the survey on the right.
Webinar, but it's done. I'll log off.
And then if you can fill out the one on the left, that just helps us get funding, but it's not super critical. And I can send these slides also, since I know the contact info for the different programs.
Yeah, we'll be sure to collect all of your information, Becky, Marielle, and James, and we'll send it out in a follow-up email for everybody. So that we can do that.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that the link to the bit.ly that you just posted, Marielle, doesn't. Oh yeah, it does work. Never mind. You have to copy and paste it. Sometimes if it's there, you can click it and open, but it was
yeah. Maybe I need to put the www that first.
No, it's fine. It should work if you copy paste.
Great.
Wow.
And I've got the seed saving needs for assessment in Hawaii open on my phone, so the QR code worked. So that's great, James. I'll go ahead and fill that one out. Yeah, that's great.
Great.
Any other questions for our CTAHR agents, and yeah, ways that you guys can connect, or anything in particular that you're looking for, how we could support you, Debbie and I, in our future talk stories? Let us know. This is a great time for you to shout out, or as a student, if you have any ideas about things that you would like to see.
Yeah, Tyler.
I just wanted to say you guys are a force to be reckoned with. So thank you for planting some incredible seeds of change. And I hope to be working with you all in the future sometime to really create some sustainable regenerative movements that can bring our islands together, our island community together surrounding gardening, as Wendy was saying. That's something we all need, regardless of our passions or walks of life. We all need to eat. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Tyler. Wow. Those of you who don't know, she's been the force to be reckoned with. Excuse me. We're just following your lead, girl. Are you 17 now? Yeah. So she's 17.
I'm 16.
You're still 16. Wait, I thought you had a birthday. What?
No.
And if you don't know, Tyler had joined us at one point last year to share with us about her initiative called Seeds of Honua, encouraging and inspiring all of us to save our seeds and share them with one another, to support biodiversity, and much more that she could say more articulate than I. Thank you, Tyler, for joining.
and both. Oh no, thank you. I just wanted to shout out to Marielle because she's a part of that movement, and so are you, Debbie. Hope to involve more of you guys if you're in.
Thanks. And it looks like, thank you, James, for sharing your slides. That's great. We can grab those links if anyone needs them. Wow, we hit right on time, 4:59. We're so glad all of you could join us today.
Let's do a waterfall takeaway. Maybe you can put one impression in the chat, and then I guess this is the way that Mingwei likes to do it. She says waterfall, and everybody presses enter, and then it all just, we see everything, everybody's impressions all at once, just kind of tumble down the chat line. So if you can just write your impressions from today, or one takeaway maybe that you'll take away with you as you head on to your evening and your dinner with your family, hopefully a relaxing time for you all.
Don't hit send yet until we're all ready.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the record. I think it might make an announcement. I'm not sure.